Declaration. I'm Kate Clarice Tungod, and I will be your MC for this morning.
And I join her. I'm Marco Harder, Principal Assistant at the Department of Foreign Affairs. Good morning, everyone. The Philippines is proud to host this workshop under the umbrella of the East Asia Summit, which is composed of 18 participating countries. To formally welcome everyone to this activity, we would like to invite the Director General of the ASEAN Philippines National Secretariat, Assistant Secretary Danilo Ramos Espiritu.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Undersecretary for Bilateral Relations and ASEAN Affairs and Philippine Home Leader, Maria Teresa Lazaro. Assistant Secretary for Policy Planning and Foreign Assisted and Special Projects of the ANR, Honorable Marcial Amaro. Executive Director of the ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, Dr. Teresa Monditalim. And Assistant Secretary for Maritime and Ocean Affairs Office of the DFA, Maria Angela Ponce, delegates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome you to the 2022 East Asia Summit Workshop on Maritime Cooperation. I'm happy to see scientists, policymakers, experts, and diplomats from EAS participating countries and international organizations gathered today because your presence shows the commitment of your respective countries towards resolving the colossal challenge facing us in the maritime sphere. The theme of this year's workshop is technical and scientific cooperation towards clean, healthy, and sustainable oceans. This is the second EAS workshop on maritime cooperation in the Philippines, and the Philippines is hosting it to implement action lines under the Manila Plan of Action to advance the Phnom Penh Declaration on the East Asia Summit Development Initiative 2018 to 2022. As we move forward to a new action plan for 2023 to 2027, we hope that this activity can serve as a strategic platform to further bolster our maritime cooperation in the region. The Philippines is a maritime state, born of the ocean, protected by the ocean, and nurtured by the ocean. It has maritime geopolitical strategic predicament, a maritime economy, and a maritime culture. Maritime cooperation will therefore always be a key priority for the Philippines. The Philippines, during its ASEAN chairmanship in 2017, worked hard for the inclusion of maritime cooperation as an area and as a key priority area of in the EAS Plan of Action. The ASEAN Center for Biodiversity, as the sole ASEAN Center for Excellence based in the Philippines, supports and assists ASEAN member states in their efforts to conserve and protect maritime biodiversity, as well as to advocate for the fair and equitable sharing of its benefit and sustainable use. As an archipelagic country, it's only natural for us to protect the oceans, which provide for the majority of our subsistence. However, we are together in this endeavor. Almost all EAS participating countries are coastal states, and 8 out of 10 ASEAN member states have their borders touching the sea. Thus, the coming together of neighboring countries for joint cooperation is imperative. At this point, may I request all of you to turn your eyes toward the stage and take a closer look at the workshop's logo. This was created by our brilliant team here at the DFA, and you will see a school of 18 different fishes, each with different patterns and colors, but all moving towards the same direction. Just like this school of fishes, I hope that despite the diversity of interest in the AAS, participating countries will move towards a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable ocean. Thank you, and I hope that we will have an engaging and productive discussion in the next few days. A good day to all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Espiritu, for the warm welcome that you've extended to our delegates and participants. As this workshop largely involves initiatives for the environment, the Deputy Secretary General of ASEAN for the Socio-Cultural Community, His Excellency Ekapab Pantabong, will deliver a message from the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
Excellency Antonia Julo Lozaka, Secretary to the Four Environments, Department of the Environment and Natural Resources, the Philippines. Excellency Enrique Manalo, Secretary for the Foreign Affairs Department of Foreign Affairs, the Philippines. Excellency Daniel Espiritu, Director General, ASEAN, the Philippines, National Secretariat, Department of Foreign Affairs, the Philippines. Distinguished delegates of the ASEAN, the member states, other EAS, the participating countries, and the partners. Ladies and gentlemen, warmest greetings from the ASEAN Secretariat. I am deeply honored to address the 2022 the East Asia Summit, the workshop on the maritime cooperation, technical and the scientific cooperation towards clean, healthy, and sustainable oceans. My sincere appreciation goes to the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Department of the Environment and Natural Resources of the Philippines for hosting these important events. The Philippines' commitments and efforts to pursue the implementation of Section 9 on the maritime cooperation under the EAS the Manila Plan of Action through this workshop is indeed commendable. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the coastal and the marine habitats and their resident species provide tremendous services, including food, water, medicine, and the vital ecosystem services. The annual estimated value of ecosystem services from the coral reefs alone comes to the 112.5 billion US dollars, while the mangroves account for the 5.1 billion US dollars. These are the important habitats and resources, however, they are currently under the immense pressure and threats, not only from the overfishing, coastal development, and the climate change, but also from the pressing issue of the marine debris pollution. Marine debris pollution is in fact among the fastest growing threats to the health of the world's oceans, human health, and economic development. This growing threat is recognized globally. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, or the Sustainable Development Goals, includes in its SDGs 14, a global aspiration to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and the marine resources. Among the targets is to prevent and significantly reduce the marine pollution of all kinds, in particular from the land-based activities, including the marine debris, by 2025. Marine debris pollution is a regional concern for ASEAN, where close to 500 million of its people will be living in or near the coastal and the marine areas by 2050, relying their livelihood on the coastal and the marine resources. Against this backdrop, ASEAN is committed to strengthening the collective action to address this pressing issue, as reflected in the Bangkok Declaration on combating marine debris in 2019. The ASEAN Regional Action Plan on combating the marine debris in ASEAN member states, launched in May 2021, further outlines the strategic actions set to be implemented by ASEAN in the next 5 years, covering the 4 main areas of policy support and planning, research, innovation, and capacity building, private sector engagement, and the public awareness, education, and outreach. At broader level, ASEAN, together with the other EAS participating countries, also reaffirms their commitment to advance cooperation in this issue through the adoption of the EAS Leaders Statement on combating the marine debris in 2018, and the EAS Leaders Statement on the marine sustainability in 2020. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, through the Leaders Statements, EAS participating countries commit, among others, to enhancing the collaboration for the capacity building and the scientific research to identify the solutions to marine pollution. This workshop, with the theme, the technical and the scientific cooperation towards clean, healthy, and sustainable oceans, is therefore very much in line with the leaders' aspirations. It serves as an important platform to identify the science-based strategies and solutions to prevent and mitigate the potential impacts of the marine plastic pollution in the region. It is my hope that the workshop today provides an opportunity to identify ways to coordinate the existing initiatives at the regional level, build technical capacity, enhance networks, and the database for the easier the access to information around the region, and the closing the coordination, the gaps between the scientific community and the policymakers. I trust that our exchange during this workshop will be tremendously useful in guiding our way forward to unlock the multiple opportunities and aim for the ambitious goals and targets to keep our oceans clean, healthy, and sustainable. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as the most marine debris is plastics coming from land, accounting for no less than 80%, I wish to underscore the importance of the holistic land-to-sea approach in addressing this issue, which touches upon the whole cycle of the value chain. This approach will require the multi-stakeholder and multi-sector collaboration at the national, regional, and even global level from multi-fronts, including the policymakers, industry, and the private sector, academia, media, youth, and the civil society. With this, I look forward to continued engagement and the strengthened partnership with all of you. And I wish you the very best and the fruitful deliberations throughout the workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General Ekbab Pantavong of the ASEAN Secretariat. At this juncture, we would like to invite Maro Jr., the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, to deliver a message on behalf of Secretary Maria Antonia Yulo Loizaga.
Undersecretary Lazaro, Assistant Secretary Espiritu, Assistant Secretary Ponce, Executive Director Mondita Lim, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, experts, ladies and gentlemen. Our country, the Philippines, is honored to host this 2022 East Asia Summit Workshop on Maritime Cooperation, technical and scientific cooperation towards clean, healthy, and sustainable oceans. This workshop is most timely, given that the United Nations has proclaimed the period 2021 to 2030 as the decade of ocean science for sustainable development, which is aimed at reversing the decline in ocean health and harnessing ocean science in enabling countries to create improved conditions for sustainable development of our oceans. Even as we hold this event, the health of our oceans, along with their capability to provide ecosystem services to humans and biodiversity, continues to decline. And climate change plays a pivotal role in accelerating this deterioration, which threatens our food and water security. Our oceans are not a bottomless carbon sink. Because of our excessive carbon emissions, the carbon sink capacity of our oceans has been exceeded, increasing their acidity by 30% over the past 2 centuries. Changes in temperature and currents and rising sea levels impact the health of marine species. Marine plastic pollution aggravates the crisis. The International Union for Conservation of Nature in 2018 reported that plastics account for around 80% of all marine debris. In line with this, I am pleased to report that the Philippines has now a law that extended Producer Responsibility Act of 2022 that institutionalizes extended producer responsibility on plastic packaging waste. This law sets rising targets for plastic recovery annually until 2028, when large enterprises are expected to achieve 80% plastic neutrality. And as our country's Secretary of Environment and Natural Resources, it is my priority to conduct an accounting and valuation of our environmental and natural resources, which includes our coastal and marine resources. The Philippines is part of the Coral Triangle, aptly described as the world's center of marine biodiversity. The Coral Triangle contains 30% of the planet's coral reefs and 76% of the world's coral species, and was credited in 2018 with directly sustaining the lives of more than 120 million people. We are doing our part in taking care of our portion of this globally vital resource. We are scientifically mapping protected marine areas and vulnerable coral reefs using both towed cameras and sonar to scan the ocean bottom to make three-dimensional underwater maps, which will enable us to monitor changes such as coral bleaching. Through this workshop, we hope to significantly increase our collective scientific knowledge of our oceans and use this knowledge to craft laws, policies, and action plans that can make our oceans sustainably cleaner and healthier. On this note, I call on our country's fellow member states in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and the 8 other countries participating in this workshop, namely Australia, China, India, Japan, New Zealand, the Republic of Korea, Russia, and the United States, to share their best in making this exercise truly and fully productive. Thank you and mabuhay.
Thank you, Assistant Secretary Amaro. Truly, the impact of ocean acidification, marine debris, and plastic pollution are issues which can be discussed in this workshop. May we now please invite the TFA's Undersecretary for Bilateral Relations and ASEAN Affairs and Philippine SOM Leader, Her Excellency Maria Teresa P. Lazaro, to deliver the keynote message for this workshop.
Thank you. Colleagues from the Philippine government, delegates from the East Asia participating countries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Picture this. In the year 2050, there will be more plastics than fishes in the sea. The oceans will be overheated and acidified, and 90% of coral reefs will be wiped out of existence. There will be waves of mass marine life extinction, causing enormous disruption in the ecosystem. Coastal cities such as Manila, Bangkok, Jakarta, Seoul, and Tokyo will sink below sea level. Non-coastal states will not be spared from this environmental tragedy. Despite being landlocked, these countries will suffer from the long-term economic effects of the disruption of the global supply and value chains, and the diminished flow of trade brought about by this projected environmental degradation, destruction. From the Indo-Pacific region to the East Asia seas, all of us gathered around in this forum would bear the same consequences of our wanton neglect of our maritime resources and ecosystems. This is such a bleak illustration of a doomsday scenario if we do not do anything about the environment now, according to the World Economic Forum and various scientific communities and experts. This goes without saying that the dire state of our oceans is something that requires immediate action. To those of you who are not familiar with the East Asia Summit, the EAS is the region's premier forum wherein the leaders of participating countries undertake strategic dialogue to tackle political and economic issues and challenges that affect the region. And it is this maritime sphere that we need to strategize and pull our resources together, our expertise and know-how, and our technologies in order to address these challenges together. Although we face regional issues and global challenges, such as this ongoing pandemic and the effects of climate change, the problems that our marine environment is facing is something that warrants urgent attention especially because our EAS region is a global marine biodiversity hotspot. Almost 3/4 of the world's surface is made up of oceans, which provide for more than half of the oxygen we breathe. Aside from its role in regulating Earth's temperature, the oceans also transport billions worth of trade goods annually. Most importantly, the oceans are a major source of food and medicines, which are necessary in sustaining life for humanity. On the part of ASEAN, we have already taken initial steps in protecting and preserving the marine environment. In 2019, our leaders came together and signed the Bangkok Declaration on combating marine debris, which aims to strengthen regional cooperation in addressing the issue of marine debris and ocean pollution. Born out of this declaration is the ASEAN Regional Action Plan for Combating Marine Debris 2021-2025, our systematic and integrated response to guide regional actions in addressing the issue of marine plastic pollution. This regional action plan is not a legally binding document, but it reflects the political will of ASEAN to protect our seas and oceans. We'll therefore need additional efforts from our governments and various stakeholders to work together in translating this action plan into national and local legislation. Governments cannot solve environmental problems on their own. Providing solutions to the impending destruction of the oceans requires a multi-stakeholder approach, with emphasis on stronger scientific collaboration. Science must guide our policies, as transformative solutions for sustainable development can be catalyzed through a science-based and innovative actions, as well as international cooperation. The benefits of scientific cooperation in providing solutions for the world can be best illustrated with the groundbreaking development of COVID-19 vaccines. The scientific community collaborated and shared their knowledge to speed up the completion of the vaccines at such a short time. In this day and age, science needs to be more transparent and accessible. Scientific cooperation is essential in order for us to find solutions to imminent threats such as ocean pollution, biodiversity loss, and climate change. Meanwhile, technical cooperation can take the form of training programs for developing countries that are in need of supplemental expertise in addressing marine pollution. Further assistance may also come in the form of human resources to assist beneficiary countries in educating and training their own scientists and grants for the purchase of scientific equipment. In this hall, we have gathered the brightest minds from each East Asia Summit participating country. We may be individually different from each other in terms of government or culture or beliefs, but all of us live on the same planet. Marine pollution is an issue that transcends boundaries and nationalities. I hope that this workshop can become a vehicle for all of us to discuss the realities of our maritime situation, explore venues for cooperation in tangible projects and activities, and strengthen our commitment to protect and preserve marine life and our oceans. Thank you very much, and I hope each and everyone enjoy Manila at this short period that you are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Undersecretary Lazaro. Now at this point, may we invite our esteemed officials, Assistant Secretary Espiritu, Assistant Secretary Ponce, Assistant Secretary Amaro, and Executive Director Lim to join the Honorable Undersecretary for a photo opportunity. Now at this juncture, may we request all of our delegates and speakers to come forward to join our officials for an official photograph. Speakers and moderators will stand in the front row. and delegates will stand in the second and third rows. May we invite you to the front of the stage, please. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for attending the opening ceremony of the East Asia Summit Workshop on Maritime Cooperation. We will now take a break. Please come back to the plenary room at 10:10 a.m. In the meantime, please enjoy the refreshments and snacks we have prepared for you at the foyer.
Good morning, everyone.